Hello YouTube, welcome to the loop line. In this video, I mentioned how implementing clock-phase scheduling on Konkan Railway would be difficult, owing to the fact that the entire route is single track. That's what we're discussing today. How do we extract as much capacity as possible out of a single track? First, a bit of background information. Konkan Railway is a 739-kilometer train line from Mangalore to Mumbai, connecting the towns of Udupi, Murudeshwar, Karwar, Goa, Ratnagiri, and Roha. It is widely acknowledged that this train line is a modern engineering marvel, cutting through very rough terrain and built to handle trains going at 160 kilometers per hour, but the operations is usually limited to 120. Now, though the line is technically very impressive, operationally it is a nightmare. The issue being the whole route from Mangalore to Mumbai is single track. This video is an attempt to extract as much capacity as possible from this single track. Before doing this, we must ask why. Why does this route need extra capacity? Here's why. It's the whole reason the line was built. There are several trains going from Kerala and Tamil Nadu to the northwest of the country that nowadays runs twice or thrice a week, but they definitely have the demand to run daily, but they can't because Konkan Railway restricts capacity. There is also a lot of freight traffic along the route, especially since it connects a lot of the ports in the west coast, namely Mangalore, Goa, and Mumbai. Due to this, there is also a lot of truck traffic on the road parallel to this, namely the NH66. Konkan Railway thus also operates a truck transport service where trucks can be loaded into a train instead of having to drive them. Now, in my previous video, I mentioned that single track lines will just have local memo service. But that won't work here. That's because this route has a lot of demand for intercity travel. There are several trains from Kerala and coastal Karnataka to Mumbai that are beloved by locals for their convenience of the overnight trip. However, there's simply not enough trains to meet demand. Before we start, I need to introduce you to this track diagram. It's not that complicated, it's a top-down view of train tracks. A map for trains, if you will. These black lines are tracks and these rectangles are platforms. Let's look at how things are done today. When you're scheduling the very first train, it doesn't matter. You can do basically whatever you want. However, as you keep adding more and more trains, you have to time them so that they only cross each other at a station. This is because there is only one track that is shared by trains going in both directions. This is fine for stopping trains since they have a lot of stops. It's easy to fit them around other trains. However, for trains that run express for a significant stretch, it's much harder since they do not stop. So, the train needs to be given a large express section and other trains should get out of the way exactly at the right time. For example, 12224 Ernakulam Lokmanya Tilak Duronto Express runs non-stop from Mangalore Junction to Madgaon in Goa. Scheduling this can't be easy since the train is effectively meant to run non-stop on a single track line for 5 hours straight. This significantly restricts the number of trains that can be accommodated on this line, hence why this train only runs twice a week. To understand how better to use this line, I've taken inspiration from an unlikely source, the Suez Canal. Here, we can see that the northern half of the canal can only handle ships going in one direction. So, they bunch all the ships together and let them in one direction at a time. This is done in 12-hour slots. So 12 hours for ships going north, 12 hours for ships going south. Any ship that arrives outside the slot time is made to wait. I'm not proposing we do this exactly on Konkan Railway since stopping trains at each end for 12 hours is impractical. But we can use the idea of slots. This is where our track diagram comes in useful. Let's take a small section of the line to see how this would work. Here I am showing the part of the line from Mulki to Kundapura. Let's say we start at 8. What we do is we split the lines into sections between stations. Every 15 minutes, each alternate section is reserved for a train going in one direction. So say a train is leaving Mulki at 8 and will reach the next station Nandikor at 8:15. Then a train will leave Nandikor at 8:15 going south to Mulki. If you look at the next section from Nandikor to Padubidri, the pattern reverses. At 8, a train would leave Padubidri going south, reaching Nandikor at 8:15. This is perfectly timed to take the slot to Mulki at 8:15. So with multiple trains, the pattern will look something like this. Each track section is occupied for 15 minutes in one direction, which alternates. If you've been doing the math in your head, you will have realized that this system allows us to run 2 trains per hour along the whole route in each direction. Assuming that the line closes 4 hours per day for maintenance, that's 40 trains per day in each direction. If we look at the current schedule for, say, Tuesday as an example, we can see that there are only 13 trains per day in one direction. This is the capacity constraint that comes with running trains fast on a single track line like this. Enough beating around the bush. Let's address the big problem with this scheme. If we were to follow this, yes, we will get the 40 trains per day in each direction, but all the trains will have to make stops at all stations. Initially, you may think this is bad since it greatly increases running time. If you think this, I would like to point you to a recent experience I had traveling this route. I was going from Udupi to Murudeshwar and back. Going north, I took 56616 Mangalore Madgaon passenger. Coming back, I took 16586 Murudeshwar SMVT Express. According to the timetable, the passenger is supposed to be slower. But when I rode both trains, the passenger was at least 20 minutes faster than the express. Despite making less stops, the express train was slower than the passenger. This is because, as I said, the express skipped stops, so we were made to wait longer for stations since we needed further line clearance. And we ended up stopping at stations we were supposed to skip anyway. I'm not saying that a train on this route cannot be fast, but to do it well, we will be sacrificing a lot of capacity. Given we can run 40 trains per day per direction here, we can have 30 of those be reserved for passenger trains, 5 of them for freight, with the rest reserved for special workings, such as inspection. That is still a more than doubling of rail service along this corridor compared to what we have now. One last thing to point out, letting trains enter this route should also be done in slots only, similar to operations. So if 2 trains come in at once, one of them will have to wait for the next slot 30 minutes later. But in exchange for that wait, that train will not pick up even a single minute of delay when it enters the line due to our slot system. It's really the best overall system for every train to be using. In saying this, again, I shouldn't gloss over the challenges involved. The biggest problem being equipment failure. If a train fails halfway along this route for any reason, it will be very difficult to retrieve it and may take hours. Not to mention, we will be stopping multiple trains along the way. This solution is not perfect, but then again, a perfect solution for this route would be adding a second track to the main line. This is just a stopgap measure. The stopping all stations timetable on this route end to end will take roughly 16 hours compared to 12 hours on the fastest trains today. We must also consider the needs of some trains that terminate halfway through the route. Murudeshwar, Karwar, and Savantwadi Road play host to certain trains that terminate in the middle of Konkan Railway. The way to handle these for now is to build 1 or 2 extra platforms at these stations and keep running our slots using the existing platforms. When those trains are ready to leave from their extra platforms, they can join the next free slot. For another, we should also consider the implications of this service on the people living in these areas. Due to our slots, there will now be at least 1 train per hour which serves every station along this route. For short distance regional trips, even a stopping all stations train is very competitive with driving or taking a bus. It is only possible to properly serve these communities with a separate local service, but again, as I said, until the line is double tracked, I'm afraid that's not feasible. This video, even though suggesting a workaround, ended up being another plea to double Konkan Railway. Even if not the whole route, doubling it in sections one after the other will slowly release the bottleneck and allow for operation of more trains. Then the bottlenecks are likely to become the junction stations at Mangalore, Goa and Panvel. I'll end this video with one last thought. If you're still unconvinced about my slot system and saying it will make trains slower, I suggest you take a ride on 56616 Mangalore Central Madagaon passenger. It's the only train along this section of the route that stops at all stations, and in the section between Suratkal and Karwar, it manages to average 45 kilometers per hour, which is in fact faster than some express trains. And before you say schedules are dreams, look at this. On the day I'm writing this, the train never cracked a 10-minute delay. Again, I'm reminding you that this entire route is single tracked and this is a passenger train stopping at all stations. Though this is one of the better days, it regularly runs within half an hour of a schedule, and the delays are mostly due to the unrealistic timetable and having to wait for other trains to pass. This is what happens when you give trains opportunity to pass on a single track line. The train itself ends up running on time. So that's all for this video. I have a lot more plans currently in the works. If there is a specific topic you'd like to see a video on, comment below and I'll get to it someday. That's it from me now. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next loop line.